So after decades of fighting racism and standing up against fascists, Jeremy Corbyn, according to the Daily Mail and other right-wing British rags, is a racist now. According to the BBC and some Tories who support Israel, Corbyn is apparently anti-Semitic. I mean, he did meet with some Jews this week, but they were left-wing Jews who, according to the BBC, are the wrong Jews. The British establishment are terrified of the rise of the movement around Corbyn and the desire for change that represents. And so the establishment are trying to oust Corbyn with these unfounded allegations. So who's lined up against Corbyn? Well, on one side you've got the Daily Mail. Yeah, the newspaper that once championed Hitler and Mussolini is accusing Jeremy Corbyn of being a racist. And then you have Mick Davis, the chief executive of the Tory party and the former chairman of the Jewish Leadership Council, effectively a lobbying group for apartheid Israel within Britain. Then surprise, surprise, you had the DUP's Ian Paisley Jr. holding a placard saying Corbyn was an anti-Semite. This is the same Ian Paisley Jr. who only a few days later retweeted a racist anti-Muslim tweet from right-wing moron Katie Hopkins. But it's not just the Tories and the right-wing media that are trying to oust Corbyn, it's also right-wing Labour MPs. John Mann, the Labour Party's most anti-immigrant MP, said last week that we must stand against racism, except when it's his own. So Corbyn apologised for liking a mural back in 2012 which could have been construed as anti-Semitic. But his whole career has been a testament to his anti-racist credentials. The man has been on every single march against racism that there's been in the last 3 decades. Israel likes to conflate criticism of the apartheid system with anti-Semitism, as if Israel speaks for all the Jews in the world. But criticising their attempts to build an exclusively Jewish state in the Middle East is an opposition to oppression. It's an opposition to an apartheid system that excludes and mistreats the Palestinians. What makes this even more bizarre is that this attack on Corbyn happens the same week as Palestinian protesters are being mowed down by live machine gun fire. 17 people were killed on the Land Day protest last week. But this bullying is nothing new when a regime is on the ropes. The apartheid regime in South Africa did the same kind of thing just before it collapsed. Israel is under immense pressure because people have started to realise what they're doing to the Palestinians. The fact that they've turned Gaza into the world's biggest open-air prison camp. But we can't bow to this bullying. We have to state clearly and forcefully that Zionism is not Judaism and that anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitic. But it's also important for certain sections of the Tory establishment to support Israel, because Israel is a key ally of the United States and the British in the Middle East. The Israelis claim that there's an epidemic of anti-Semitism in Britain. Recent surveys showed that while 40% of British people don't trust Muslims, only 7% said they don't trust Jews. So although any racism against Jewish people is wrong, it seems that Muslims are on the receiving end most of the time. The neoliberals in Labour and the right wing in Labour are weakening the movement for change and constantly looking for an excuse to stab Corbyn in the back. Getting rid of them wouldn't weaken the movement, it would make it more determined and stronger. These attacks just show how vicious the establishment will be in defending their wealth and defending their allies. The working class fight back can't be restricted to just voting for Corbyn. It also has to be about mobilising people power to push back the attacks by the rich. We need strikes and protests of working class people to put manners on the British establishment. Here in Ireland, we'll continue to campaign for the expulsion of the Israeli embassy.